I've often heard it said that all sins are equal before God, but this just doesn't seem right. What would you say? I have heard that too. And the reason people have said that is because of James, and I'm going to forget the location, but it says, if you have committed one sin, you're guilty of all. That's James 3 or 4. If you've committed one sin, you're guilty of all, which seems to mean that small sin, big sin, I'm totally guilty of all the commandments, and therefore every sin is equally damning to me. That's not the whole story, is it? First, not everybody is hurt in the same way by every sin. In other words, if I shoot Michael dead right now, or if I just spit on him, both are very ugly sins, and Jesus calls hatred murder. But he's not dead if I spit on him. So worse sin, meaning worse in its effect, would be killing is worse than spitting. I think we should say that. It is. And because consequences matter for you. And I think for me, because here's another text you have to bring in. Jesus taught that there would be degrees of punishment. If you know the right and don't do it, you'll be beaten with more stripes than if you don't know the right and do wrong. So there's degrees of punishment, which must mean degrees of guiltiness, which must mean that some sins are more blameworthy than others. Let me go back to James and just say what I think is meant there. The argument is, the reason if you do this sin you're guilty of all is because one God said all. And therefore what he's drawing attention to is, if I say to God, I'm going to do this against you, the small sin, spit on somebody, and I'm going to do this big sin against you. In both cases, you've defied God. In both cases, you've said no to God. That's what he's saying. He wants us to feel that every sin, from the smallest to the greatest, is against God, not just against people and their consequences. And in that sense, every sin is infinitely heinous. So you just have to carve this up and say, when it comes to God being defamed in my heart, I am committing an infinite evil against him if I do a small sin or a big sin. But there are other factors that have to be brought in.